Welcome everybody to Tabletop Trainwreck. I'm Liam.
I guess I'm Bill.
You guess?
I don't know who I am anymore.
You've changed. For some reason that reminded me.
Yeah.
Before we even start the episode,
Right.
it just reminded me that and you don't watch Supernatural, right?
I do not.
So there was an episode of Supernatural. All right, slight backstory. In Supernatural is actually like meta because in the show Supernatural, there is a book series called Supernatural about the two main characters' lives. And people are like, "Oh, but it's just a book series," you know? Anyway, there was a convention and like there were these two dudes that were pretending to be the main characters, Sam and Dean, and one of them was like, "Ugh, I wonder where Dad is." Because like their dad goes missing at one point. Ohio
The
does.
fuck? Okay.
And that reminded me of that. It was funny. All right, hold on. You talk and introduce the actual topic while I let my cat in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave this part in because it's entertaining. So I don't know. I thought Liam's cat was on the fucking couch, and then suddenly I look out the window and she's there looking in at us. So I don't know what the hell happened there. Yep. I don't know how cats work. I'm not a cat person. But we're not here to talk about that today. So in the past we've done like advice on, like running RPGs as the GM, on making a character, on guiding your players through the character creation process, on alignment. And today we thought it'd be prudent to discuss being a good player.
Mm-hmm.
So chances are, if you're playing an RPG, you're gonna be the player because there's more players than GMs
True.
out there.
True.
Hold up.
How dare you? How dare you try to sneeze here?
I'm not trying to sneeze. It just fucking squigglies in my nose.
How dare you?
But
You're ruining this podcast, Will.
good. I need to stop this before it's too late.
This will cause the end of the world.
But everyone like always worries about like, oh, how do I be a good GM? How do I make a game that will appeal to my players? But like, when you're a player and you're playing in a game, some of it does fall on you to, contribute and make the kind of game that everyone has fun playing in.
Because, yes, the GM is responsible for the planning of the game, but when it comes to the implementation, I would say the players are just as responsible for having having an effect on the game as the DM themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, the characters are what drives the action, unless you have like a GM that's like kind of turbo railroady, in which case, like, might as well watch them. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. Cut that out. But like at that point, you just why even fucking bother playing? 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not interested in having players. They just want to fucking write a book.
Yeah.
A lot of people when they get into role playing games like D&D, we're just gonna use D&D because we all know what we're
it's
talking
the classic,
about.
yeah.
People might get like overexcited, or they might not understand like exactly how important group dynamics are.
And when we say group dynamics, we don't necessarily mean like what roles you guys are each going to be. We mean more how are you guys going to interact with each other?
Exactly. So this isn't going to be another fucking like problem players and how to deal with them guide.
No,
every fucking channel. It's just like these are some steps to take to like make sure that you and everyone else at the table is having a good time.
Yes.
And I'm just going to start right off the bat with like what I'm going to call the golden rule of this episode is if you're having fun, other people will have fun too.
Can I add like a small amendment to that?
I mean, obviously, if you're having fun at someone's expense.
All right, yeah, there we go.
And we're going to get into all of that. But like, the more enthusiasm you show about your character, about other people's characters, about the world, the more people are going to respond well to you, and the more fun you're going to have. So, even if it's something that like you weren't expecting going into it, if you try to keep an open mind and if you try to enjoy what's happening and you try to enjoy your fellow players, then you'll have a lot more fun. And again, not all of this can be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're having a bad time, you're having a bad time. And sometimes someone else is going to be a douche. Sometimes the GM is going to be a douche.
Happens.
Not a whole lot you can do about that. But
his name's Will. He's sitting right in front of me.
I'm a terrible GM.
That's a lot. You're a beautiful GM.
But there's not a whole lot you can do about situations like that except like leave and move on.
And I would say I'm in the camp that firmly believes anybody can be a good player. There is no such thing as somebody who's not able to be a good player. There are some people who definitely are not that practiced, I'll say, and they might not understand social cues as well or something like that to be an effective player, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to be a good player.
And being a good player is kind of subjective. Like, obviously some parts of it, like, you know, treat people respectfully. That's going to be a given no matter where you are.
Yeah.
But, you know, in other situations, like a quote-unquote problem player that comes up a lot is the power gamer who, like, min-maxes everything and tries to make the best builds. But in the right game, if everyone's on board, that might be a blast.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you just want to go through clearing dungeons, and if everyone's on the same page, that's great.
Yeah.
It only becomes an issue if you're the power gamer and you're in a game full of role players and you're like going around trying to beat the shit out of everything and quote unquote win the game when everyone else is trying to express like their characters through role play and backstory and all that.
And to speak to that point, I have alluded to him many times, but there was somebody who I played one of my first times DMing who I don't like. You know him.
Yeah.
He's my best friend. No, he's not. But he was 100% a power gamer. He min-maxed. He tried to find the best ways to, I guess, quote-unquote, be the best. I hate using that term, but that's the term that...
He wanted to win.
He wanted to win.
Yeah.
And so if you play like that, that's a fine and legitimate way to play. But I was DMing for 3 other people who were extremely new to any sort of role-playing game, not just Dungeons & Dragons. And we weren't even playing D&D, we were playing Pathfinder. So his ability to be a power gamer was maximized because it's Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, while his style of play was valid, it was not the best choice to have in that party.
Exactly. And we kind of brought this up in other areas, but, you know, whenever you're playing a game with other people, know when to calibrate, know when to take it down a notch. Because, like, if you're up late at night researching builds to make the strongest fucking wizard possible, and you're in a group with 3 other people that's just like, I'm elf, I am dwarf.
That's exactly what it was.
Then, like, it's going to be a fucking mess because no one else is going to be as good as you are, so you're going to get frustrated because you don't think people are playing correctly. The DM's going to get frustrated because you're shitting all over his encounters, or half the party's not ready for the encounters that they have to throw at you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other people playing with you aren't going to be happy because they're just not having a good time because they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. And this advice goes to new players as well. If you're a new player, something I wish I had done as the DM, and don't get me wrong, I'm not at all going to blame my players for this. I should have reeled in that player. But the other players, if you are a player and you notice that your DM's not doing anything like me, like I didn't really know what to do because I was kind of an experienced DM, but I knew my party was annoyed. If you are the player who's annoyed, speak up and be like, listen, like just talk to that other player and be like, listen, you are stopping us from having a good time too.
I know that can be tough though. It is.
It's tough.
It's hard to look someone in the eye and tell them to fuck off. But like, even then, like if you're not comfortable with that, just approach your DM quietly and tell them like, hey, you know, this is kind of a fucking drag. Can you please do something? Or, you know, I mean, you don't have to necessarily like call the person out and embarrass them. Make them feel shitty because, like, you know, no one wants to be the guy that does that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like,
you're here to have fun too.
You're here to have fun too, and a lot of the time, like, maybe people don't know it's a problem yet. Until it's like voiced. So, you know, don't feel like you have to hide that unless you're like the newcomer to a game and like it's the group dynamics are established and you're like trying to fit in which case, you know, maybe this isn't the right group for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my lesson too, is like no one and just leave.
Yeah. If you are able to comfortably, I guess I should say, pack up and walk away, and you like that's probably like a good move.
Yeah. Cuz, you know, D&D and role-playing games take a while to get into.
Yeah.
You're sitting down and like chances are you're playing 4-hour sessions at a time.
Yeah.
And that's a big commitment. So like, you know, if your weekly group isn't really fun for you, It's kind of a lot of time to be spending on a group that's not fun when you could be finding another group. And like this doesn't have to be a big fucking thing either. You don't have to like say like, oh, this game's terrible and I can't stand you and here's my fucking manifesto on why this sucks ass. You can just say like, hey, I appreciate it. It was cool playing with you guys, but I think I'm gonna go play with someone else, or I'm gonna try to do other things. Like it's not. Assuming they're adults and they're not gonna fucking throw a tantrum.
Having a group is like having a roommate. Like when I first went to college, the first advice my brother gave me was, your roommates don't necessarily have to be your friends, but they have to be good roommates.
Yeah.
So even if I wasn't really friends with my roommate, if he was a good roommate and I was a good roommate to him, we can work well together.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the situation I would take with Dungeons and Dragons as well. Like, as long as you guys are able to work together as a group and enjoy each other during that time, it's not like you have to see them all the time after that, you know?
Yeah.
Or vice versa, if there's a bunch of people who you like playing with and they're your good friends, or not playing with, but there's a bunch of people who are your good friends, but they're just not fun to play with, then don't play with them. I mean, again, like in that kind of situation, it's tough to just say don't play with them, but like ultimately, it's the better thing.
I mean, I've had to do that before too, where it's like I was playing with a group of my friends, and that was a different situation because there was one guy in that group that I could not fucking stand. But actually, no. Later on, I was invited to a different group by the same guy who DM'd the first time, and after a few sessions, I'm like, I'm sorry, this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't a big deal. We were still friends. It's fine.
It doesn't have to be something crazy or intense or anything.
But, and here's another thing: is like, you don't have to feel like this is the only group in the world, because it isn't. Like, and I know it can be scary. Like, maybe if you live somewhere that's not as populated, and like there's one store and there's one group, or you have like your friend group and they're the only people that are interested in playing this game. Like, that's rough if you don't have, like, access to other groups. But we also kind of live in a time where you can do a lot of this shit over the internet. So you can hop on Roll20, although I don't know if that's... I forget if that's been canceled.
No, Roll20's still around.
No, I mean canceled isn't, like, canceled by... Because they had some whole fucking controversy that I don't remember, but...
What do you mean by canceled?
You don't know cancel culture?
No.
It's just, like, the public outrage is...
Why were people upset about Roll20?
Something happened. They did something like really not cool, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I remember now. So they went on this like I think they introduced some like really unfavorable update that people hated, and then they went on the Roll20 Reddit and started banning people left and right for speaking out. And they would like hand out like lifetime bans to people who were like paying members who just like said something like, "Hey, this doesn't work. Can you help me?" Or something like that. I might be getting this completely wrong, but it was just bullshit like that. I don't know. I used Roll20 like last night, so it can't be dead yet. But
yeah, I weekly I play D&D with my brother, and weekly we use Roll20.
Yeah,
so it's still around, but it might. I don't know if it's like I don't know if there's a huge community for it maybe then anymore.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But
even still, there's other things online, not just Roll20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I think sure playing in like meat space, I guess, is more fun. But like
you do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, do what you can. And honestly, if the game's fun enough, you're not going to notice.
Yeah, and like I think there's a lot of tools, like I said before. You can get online. Yeah. I think D&D Beyond has something for it. At least I think D&D Beyond has some sort of social thing where you can connect with people, and then maybe you can connect with people in your area.
Yeah,
there might be hot shingles in your area waiting to get laid.
But I guess that to sum it up, just like don't suffer in silence either. Like speak up, and if something's really really bothering you, let people know. Or just don't play.
Yeah,
find another group because. It's not worth suffering through. I mean, you're not going to offend anyone if you walk out. You're not going to... Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know your life. Like, maybe you're playing with people who are, like, really not socially well adjusted, and they might throw a fucking fit, in which case, like, chances are you don't want to play with them anyway.
Yeah, it might not be the best idea. But we had one person in particular who, yeah, we call him Toby after the character in The Office.
It was a gruesome time.
That was...
High school was a mistake for a lot of reasons.
there were a lot of mistakes in high school.
Yeah. We're going to move on.
On a more positive note, I would say that if you want to do something like I might say something controversial,
Sure.
and this might be something that some people are going to come at me and think that's like the worst thing
No one
ever.
has ever come at us for anything.
And
so
I'm upset about that. So I'm hoping this controversy will spark it.
Yep.
No character is invalid.
Yeah.
Like, there is no character you can make that is a bad character. I mean, no, let me say that. That is, I don't want to say bad character, but that is an invalid character.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And I think you're right to a point. I think, like, as long as everyone knows what kind of game they're playing, it's
Yes.
fine. Like, we're playing a game right now of Dark Matter. I'm in a
Awesome
party
game.
with Kay and Jack.
He can't tell me too much about it, though, because I'm on the opposing team.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the way we have our party set up is like I'm a caster, I'm a druid. Kay is a caster, he's a sorcerer, and then Jack is like a craftsman. So like none of us are like your traditional fighter. We don't really have a healer. Druids can kind of heal. But like it doesn't matter because we all we have an understanding about what kind of game we want to play.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. If this was a pure dungeon crawl, we might want to reconsider, but it isn't, so who cares?
And I mean, with our types of groups, like the ones you and I do, we mostly do a lot more like role playing than we do fighting.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we want characters that are more, I guess, attuned to role playing, and that will allow us to role play better.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that if somebody wanted to play, I'm not going to say a murder hobo, because I got issues with murder hobos. But if somebody wanted to play a very violent character, I'll say,
Sure.
that is an okay character to play so long as the group is good with it.
Exactly. It just, I almost said get consent, but that
that implies something a little different than I think what you're meaning.
consent to murder. But like, just, and this is why I'm such a big proponent of Session Zeros, and I don't understand the brain damage that would cause someone to be opposed to Session Zeros.
Are there people who are opposed to Session Zeros?
On like 4chan, people are fucking stupid about it.
Why?
I don't know. I honestly, I can't tell what's real and what's horse shit on that website anymore. I feel like people just throw tantrums about things because it's entertaining to do so. But like, a lot of the annoying, stupid shit can be ironed out if everyone just sits down and says like, okay, this is what we're playing. This is what we expect.
Yeah.
Here are the parameters for a character. So like, make your characters together so you understand what the fuck is happening, and you don't walk in with like some big grandiose backstory and like a massive character plot line to a party of like 4 fucking dick smash turbo fist barbarians.
I mean, that could be fun, but maybe if you had the Session Zero beforehand.
Exactly.
I mean, and like that's always like an important thing. Like I agree that this is more for player advice now. If your GM does not mention a Session Zero, I would ask for one personally.
Yeah.
Like, because it's possible the GM might not even like think of that.
And it doesn't even have to be like a formal Session Zero. You can just say like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
like you just say like, what kind of characters would make sense here? And if everyone's like, oh, well, I'm playing a fighter, but I think we should have like a healer.
Yeah.
You can like ask the DM like, okay, is how important is combat going to be? Should I consider this?
Yeah.
And then like you can be like, okay, and calibrate that way. Like, all right, I guess I'll be your cleric.
Like when I was getting into my brother's game, I asked him straight up because I hadn't done a Session Zero, and like we kind of did a Session Zero online because he lives in a different state.
Mm-hmm.
And I just asked like, are you guys more role play or are you guys more combat heavy? And he was like, our group is usually more combat heavy, so if like that's probably the best way to go for your character is a little more like combat heavy. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna be a War Master fighter because I've never done that class. I've done fighter class,
War
obviously.
Masters are the best.
I've never done War Master before,
So
and
much
it's
fun.
so fun being a War
Yeah.
Master. And I was like, because I had an idea. I was like, if it's going to be more combat heavy, I obviously want to choose a class that I know.
Yeah.
So fighter is a class that I know, and I know what the War Master does, so it's going to be interesting when I do that. I play a Goliath named Yosef.
Nice.
But yeah, so I would always ask for a session 0.
Yeah.
Because it's possible your GM just doesn't know what one is, or just hadn't thought about it.
Yeah. That's not to say like a character more geared towards roleplay can't coexist with like a character more geared towards combat. Like, obviously you can have like a diplomat alongside a barbarian.
Yes.
But like, it's important to recognize like someone who's in it for purely roleplay is not going to have fun in a game that's like a dungeon crawl. Someone who's in it to smash fucking goblins in the face is not going to have fun at court.
Yeah.
So like, and part of that's on the GM to make sure that like everyone's on the same page, everyone's playing the same game, and expectations are matched. But at the same time, like, you can have different encounters, and as long as like everyone has something to do, you can vary it.
Yeah.
But that's enough harping on about that point. I guess next we'll get into like, you know, in role play scenes. I see this a lot. People, the slang word is main character syndrome, where people make characters that are like meant to be the main character from a novel or a movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is a natural place to start. That's kind of what gets your brain going when you start thinking of like a heroic character. But at the same time, what happens often is people forget that they are in a game with other people, and they try to like dominate the spotlight. And I've done this sometimes too. I feel shitty about it, but like sometimes you just get really swept up in it and you go too far. And I understand that happens sometimes. But if it's consistently happening, it makes it not fun for everybody else.
I've never had that happen before, ever in my whole life.
Yeah, you're perfect, aren't you?
I'm so perfect. No. I mean, it's something that I think everybody does to a degree.
Yeah.
But like you said, as long as it's not a constant thing. Like, I know one person who I've played a game with who has issues like that, I would say.
Yeah.
Where he really likes to take control of like the situation. And while that is, it's not necessarily a bad trait to have, it's not always the welcomed trait.
Yeah.
Because it's not like every character wants somebody to tell them what to do. You know what I mean? And so having, if you are the person who wants to take control of the party, but there's somebody in the party who will never let you be controlled by them, that can be interesting, but don't, I guess, overdo it.
Yeah. And like, if you're playing a game and that happens to you, you might be tempted to just like dig in your heels and say, blow me, I'm not doing what you tell me to.
Yeah.
But that's just gonna, depending on who it is, that might create a fucking shitstorm outside of the game, and then it's a problem.
It's one of those things that it's weirdly subjective, where you have to weigh the situation.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to pick your battle.
And I mean, ultimately, it stems from a good place. Like, if you kind of have the quote unquote main character syndrome, it means that you're very passionate about your character and you're very enthusiastic about role playing him or her or it. But like, again, it is important to recognize when you're going too far. It's important to let other characters take their turn, and it is hard to like kind of step back from yourself and be like, okay, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
And
again, it's not always the player's fault. Sometimes a DM will set up some characters, whether wittingly or unwittingly.
Yeah.
But in those instances, if there is somebody who's getting a lion's share of the attention, it might be best for you to talk to your DM about that. Or if the player, I guess, is asking in some way for more of the attention.
Yeah. And I mean, this is for it to be a problem, has to be kind of constant, you know?
Yeah.
Like if
somebody's just having their moment in the spotlight, but they're going to give it up soon, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, that's not bad at all. That's fine. Like, I mean, I think a spotlight is hard to share, so like everyone should get a turn. I think that's more reasonable than like everyone's great all the time.
Yes.
But what I was more getting at is, like, say the DM has an adventure set up where like you're exploring the backstory. Like, say Liam's character, his like older brother, let's just imagine we're playing L5R.
Okay.
Liam's character's like older brother or something is like the evil lord, and he
Yep.
just found out that he's coming to town, and Liam's got to stop him
Oh boy.
or whatever.
Let's fucking do this.
And so, yes, the adventure's about Liam, and yes, he's kind of driving most of the action, and maybe this adventure he's kind of the main character.
The quote unquote protagonist.
But that's not a problem either. It's only a problem if it's like every fucking session Liam's character is the only one that matters. In which case, like, yes, then
I mean, that's just true every session, but like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
okay.
Because I'm just
Is that why
naturally-
you like suicidally kill off every single character you have?
Listen, one of them has lived. Raymond is alive.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I wish we could play that game.
Yeah. Yeah, Kay, what the fuck?
You're pissing me right off.
Although now we have Henry's game.
Yeah, Henry's game's shaping up to be a spicy one.
We're gonna have our first game I think next week.
Yeah.
The chaotic side.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense. So the way, not to speak for you, Henry, but the way he's like setting this up is because there's 6 of us besides Henry. So he's having 2 different parties of 3 people. One is law aligned and one is chaos aligned. So me, Kay, and Jack are in the law party, and then Liam, Dan, and Ryan are in the chaos party.
We are a spicy chaos party, by the way.
I'm sure I will be elated to learn what you've done.
Well, just to give a quick rundown of my character, I am Tracer,
Yeah.
just straight up because
Problem is, I'm already Tracer.
Oh, shit. And then Dan and Ryan are both the same class, but different subtypes. They're different
Good.
subclasses.
Good.
And essentially the entire party is going to be mostly robots.
I'm down with that, actually. See, Jack's character's a robot. My
Yeah.
guy's like a fucking robot worshiper. I have to gush about dark matter now.
I guess.
So I'm playing what's called a Circle of Configuration Druid. Because like normally druids are like all about like, oh, the natural world. But
Yes.
these druids are like, fuck it, mechanical world. And so instead of a wild shape, I can turn into like a fucking warform robot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool as shit. I love dark matter. Buy that fucking book,
Yeah,
please.
Support Mage Hand Press because they make some great shit.
Oh my god.
I love them.
I will suck them off every day of the goddamn week.
And we met the creator of Dark
Give me the
Matter.
creator,
And he
he's
was
a good boy.
He was such a nice guy.
Boy!
Get onto our podcast.
No, don't listen to this podcast ever. You're better than this. You're the goodest boy.
If he's this deep in, he might already be like, I mean, he might already be a fan. Like,
I don't know. No one's a fan.
we have consistently 5 viewers at
Hell
least.
Because we hold fucking K at gunpoint and demand you listen.
It's a good time.
But what was I saying? Main character syndrome. It's just like, no one to give it up.
Yes,
I
no one
guess.
to give it up. No one to walk away. No one to hold them. No one to fold them.
Yeah.
No one to walk away. No one to run.
Mhm.
Never count your money while you're sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Because there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
And now we've been copyright striked.
I didn't sing it, so I think we're okay.
Doesn't meddle in.
I think we're okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's no rules with YouTube anymore.
There's no
The
rules
whims of a
until
mad
there's
god.
exclusively rules.
No one listens to us on YouTube anyway, so
That's
that's
true. No, we had 6 views.
Did we?
I think we have a total of 6 views.
Hell yeah. What was I saying?
I don't know.
I keep getting derailed, and I apologize, audience.
Main character syndrome. I think we finished up
Yeah.
with it though.
Just the last point is like kind of how to counteract it. Because I know like saying know when to give up the spotlight, like that's
tough,
hard. Yeah. I think ultimately what helps with that is just get enthusiastic about other people's characters. Like
Yes.
if you care about them, then you're gonna want to see them develop too.
One, I guess, good example of this, I think, is you and me when you played 6-2. No, that's Stitch.
561.
5-6-1, and I played Raymond.
Yeah.
Because I got really into your character. I really liked your character, and our characters were just together already.
Yeah.
Like, and we were kind of pushed together, so we were almost forced to share the
Became
spotlight.
the
But like,
bestest of pals.
we did.
Yeah.
But like, that was like a good thing. Like, I
Yeah.
say forced in like quotation marks because like, in character, we were forced to be together.
Yeah.
But it was something that Will and I kind of talked about before, and we really liked the idea of.
Yeah.
So that's a good way, I guess, to practice sharing the
And
spotlight.
that's another thing is like sometimes the spotlight doesn't have to be on one person. Sometimes it can be on someone's relationship or like
Yes.
the dynamics between two people.
Yes.
And that can be just as cool. Like when I was playing Ord, Henry's character Edmund, right?
Yep.
Henry's character Edmund and I had like a lot of very interesting interactions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a lot of fun, even though, like, yes, it wasn't on me or it wasn't on him, but it was like,
It was on you both. It was
Yeah.
shared.
so. And again, that's another thing that, like, that's not all on you. A lot of that's on the DM,
Mhm.
but there are ways to ease that burden.
Yes, yes.
So,
Especially if you tell the DM that, like, we want to be together a lot, and, like,
yeah.
this is our relationship, so it's
Mhm.
most likely that we're going to be together
Yeah.
a lot.
So on that point, moving on is be nice to your DM.
Yes. Unless it's Will.
Yeah. Listen, if you fuck me, I fuck you twice as hard.
Yeah, where's that mage game, Will, huh?
Yeah, well, I can be fucked. Because right now I'm trying to make a fucking L5R game to run at a con, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm trying to push through our L5R game, but I don't think it's going to happen with you and Henry and I think Jack. But since Henry has his campaign now, I'm like, okay, all right, it's fine.
Yeah. But irregardless,
Irregardless,
be good to your DM.
be nice to your DM. Please.
So this is a game. Role-playing games are kind of about freedom. It's about, like, you put on the mask and you, like, of a character, and
You show your true form.
yeah, exactly. And, like, the kind of the whole appeal of this versus, like, a board game or video game is you can do whatever your heart desires.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if, like, you just don't care about something, or if, like, you want to be doing something else, sometimes there's a lot of temptation to just, like, blow off whatever plot hook the DM puts in front of you or whatever. And, like, again, no one's making you do anything, and, like, if it's really not fun, I mean, it's not always on you to, like, force yourself to have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, it's just, like, enough, but at the same time, like, if your DM's putting plot hooks in front of you and you're just kind of consistently ignoring them, like, that makes it very hard for the DM to keep you engaged. And that's going to make it very hard for you to remain engaged.
Sometimes, like, even if it's an obvious plot hook, just go for it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, your DM is trying to purposefully start something for you. Like, he's trying to get the adventure. So, yes, you could potentially, in quotes, make your own plot hook. But if your DM puts one in front of you, just go for it.
Yeah, and if you respect this person at all, like, please respect the amount of time they put into, like, crafting this adventure and, like, giving you the plot hooks and the dungeon and the monsters and the characters and all this. Like, it's a lot to keep track of to be a DM, and so, like, when they make this massive, intricate thing, and you just say, nah, like, that's not cool. I mean, I'm not saying, like, do everything according to plan. Like, obviously it's fun to shake things up, and, like, some of the most fun times I've had playing a game is, like, when someone does something completely out of left field, and you're like, okay, how do we all deal with this?
Jack is supposedly can create infinite energy.
Well, Jack's a madman. He's not he's not bound by human rules.
He's the true chaotic neutral.
Yeah. And, like, sometimes it is kind of fun to throw a wrench in things and, like, just endure it.
Yeah, like when I try to blow something up and people suddenly are upset about me for it. I don't know.
Because there was no logic to it.
Listen, all right, you'll allow Jack to be a madman, but not me?
Because he's adorable.
Fight me.
Oh, so is that you that keeps ripping ass?
I'm not ripping ass. I'm moving my chair.
We're going to move on.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I'm watching you.
What?
But, like, yeah. Just, know when to dial back. Because, like, it is kind of easy to view the DM as, like, oh, they're all powerful. Like, what can I do to them, really? But, like, you can kind of really ruin their day if you're too pushy about,
Speaking once again from experience, with a certain person whom I don't like.
Yeah.
In my first time DMing.
Yep. And so that's why, like, I don't know. It's kind of not cool.
Oh, I was gonna capitalize on that.
Proceed.
I was gonna expand on that by giving a personal anecdote.
Oh, I thought you were pausing. But
No.
Please proceed.
No. well, I want to help you. I am not here to rob
Are you going to get on with it? Or are you going to continue
No,
tossing memes at me?
not now. No. But so this guy, we were running a pre-made adventure, which kind of was also strike number 2 against me because I let him create a custom character in a pre-made adventure in Pathfinder.
Don't do that.
Bad idea. Well, everybody else had pre-made characters. Anyway, so while we were playing, there was a boat in like the area that they were in. And this guy goes, well, where else like can we go? And I was like, oh, like they're not really anywhere else right now. And he's always like, no, where else in the book? And I'm like, well, you guys are in this area right now, so there's nothing really else that's happening in the book. And he's like, well, if it's in the book, we get to go to it. Like we have to be able to go to it.
Yeah.
And again, me as a DM, I should have. I'm not saying it's his. I mean, it's definitely his fault in certain ways, but it's also my fault in others.
That's also like hardcore metagaming.
It is,
Yeah,
and so
that's fucked up.
So, because I was a very new DM and I was relatively, I don't want to say new to this friend group, but there was a lot of drama, let's say.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't very comfortable in the friend group.
Sure.
I didn't really want to start anything, but he should have just been like, he should not have pressed me like that. Like once I say, well, you're in this area, he should have said, oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's another thing is like, just take what your DM says on the chin. Like, I know it can be tough, like, when something doesn't go your way or like you don't get the moment you want or whatever happens. But like, don't fucking argue. Don't make it a big issue. Just say like, okay, fine, and move on. If it was really that heinous, like, either leave the group or tell them afterwards, like, that wasn't cool, dude.
Yeah.
But like, when you're in the middle of a game, like, it just grinds everything to a fucking halt when you have to argue with the DM about some dumb thing.
Especially if it's like some dumb rules question. Like certain rules questions are very valid, and like if it's like about like how a spell works or how a certain like thing mechanically works that is like that for a fact is written in the book.
Yeah.
Then like go through the book sometimes, or if you can't eventually anticipate a question, look at the rule yourself and try to figure that out. But if it's something that really does not matter in the long run, for instance, going back to that same game, when I said this town is out of money because you have gambled all of the money to yourself from this town, and then he says, well, I want to go somewhere else to get more money. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dumb rules question. I guess that's not really a rules question, but if your DM is saying you can or cannot do something that is an arbitrary or ambiguous ruling, then just roll with it.
Yeah. Because most of the time it does not matter.
It does not.
Yeah. I don't know. It's also just like, because I'm talking about the same person that I played with in college who just sucked ass.
You and I had both just had one person in college who we just did not like.
Everyone has that. Kay had one too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're cursed. This is a cursed hobby.
Everybody's got that one guy.
Fucking devil.
Just while you're thinking, can I go into one more tangent? So this is the same guy in another issue with him that is also good player advice about taking up time.
Yeah.
And this actually takes up the don't take up too much time and the stay out of the spotlight thing. Or maybe not stay out of the spotlight, but share the spotlight. Don't take up time with arbitrary, ridiculous, or stupid things. Yeah. For instance, in that gold situation I talked about earlier, he spent a literal hour gambling.
Yeah.
That I had to keep talking to him for.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's definitely on me. Because as a DM, I should have said, we're done with this. No more. But part of that's also on him because he should have realized I'm not letting anybody else play.
Yeah. And that fucking reminded me of another one where it's like, the same guy for me is, I once like had them go up against some goblins in the woods, and they killed them, and they're like, all right, we're gonna loot the bodies, and it's like, they're goblins, they don't have fucking anything on them. Like
they might have a knife.
Why do you think they're attacking you? And like there was like a ruined cart nearby, and like it's like spoiled grain. Like it's nothing of use. Everything that was valuable has been picked clean a while ago. And he's like, no, I'm gonna rip up every fucking floorboard and look for coins. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing? It's
Like, it's taking up time with
Exactly,
arbitrary,
exactly.
useless, or dumb shit.
I know it really
It gets you going.
it roasts my toast a bit. And
Yeah,
that's not
so-
to say like if you do like a role play action that doesn't advance the plot, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, don't keep doing it.
Yeah.
You get one or two and then you got to move on.
Like, I'm trying to think of like a good moment for it, but like, here's a good representation of it. So with my brother's group, we went to a zoo, and
Okay.
one of my like mates, I don't know what to call them. They're
Comrades.
not comrades. One of my comrades wanted to buy a snake, and so we bought the snake, and then we spent like probably solid 20 minutes trying to figure out how to milk venom out of a snake.
Yeah.
And it's like that was something everybody had fun in. Everybody interacted with it. Like, it was a good time.
In that Dark Matter game we played at PAX, where it's like we had like I think a good hour where we were just trying to figure out a way to not pay for our gas.
That's
and
true,
just,
yeah,
at a
like-
convenience store.
We tried to just con a convenience store. But like everybody was involved. The DM had a really fun time,
Yeah.
and like everybody was just having a good time and being
Exactly.
involved.
So like, read the room. If it's like you're like, oh, I'm gonna gamble for the 20th fucking time, and like everyone's like on their phone, they want to be anywhere.
that's
but here.
what it was.
Yeah. Then it's like enough. Maybe you need to cool it. And again, some of that is on the DM to be like,
I
all right.
will fully take some responsibility here and say that's on
Yeah.
me.
But it is also kind of on you to be a decent person and not put your DM in situations like that. Because, like, yes, the DM is the arbitrator, but every time the DM has to kind of wield that power,
It's
the
not a
game
fun
becomes
time.
less time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The game becomes less fun for everybody.
And like, here's my biggest issue. I hate saying no to people, and it's
Yeah.
something that I've grown a lot better at. And I would say as a DM, I'm definitely better at it now
Yeah.
after having to deal with that one person. Where like you guys, especially, I love Jack, but sometimes Jack will come at me with the most bizarre scenarios that just don't fit, and I'm like,
It's like, enough.
I don't want to say no to you, Jack, but I have to right now because it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But he handles it really well, and he's just like, all right, it doesn't fit, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'll figure out something else to do. That's the way to handle it.
Yeah. And maybe you're playing with an inexperienced DM that hasn't really gotten there yet, and they're like, oh, I guess everyone's having fun, haha. But like, again, if you're not having fun and someone else is doing this at your table, just say something. Like, just be like, dude, enough, please. And like, I know that's hard, but if you don't do something, it's not going to stop. So
Yeah. So just reading the room is very key.
Yeah.
And if you're not great at reading the
Yeah.
room, there are like other ways that I guess you can either express yourself or have like other people express to you, like even explicitly say like, listen, I'm not that great at reading the room,
Mhm.
but if like I'm doing something that either bugs you guys or annoys you, like tell me, and then
yeah.
you
And
know.
along with that, just like a decent piece of advice is like when someone tells you to stop doing something, it's important to not take it personally. It's important to
Yeah.
not like pout about it. Like if you want to do something stupid and the DM's like, no, that doesn't make sense, please.
Yeah.
Like just be like, okay, fine, and back off. Don't argue. Don't make it a whole federal case. Just
I'll say arguing is where I'm bad, because there have been moments, I will say, in our groups where I've become very heated for trying to do one thing that somebody else has done before me, and then now I'm being told I can't do. So it's not about you. This is about, I'm not going to mention any names, but
Okay.
they know who they are. But yeah. So like it sometimes it is annoying, especially if it's in that situation where it's like that guy got to do it, why can't I? And you're kind of feeling cheated a little bit, but at the end of the day, you kind of just have to take it in stride and be like, is this a molehill I'm worth dying on?
Yeah. And it's just like, again, much like I said, like every time the DM has to be authoritative, they kind of like lose a little bit of the mojo that makes the game fun.
Yeah.
Every time you spark up a stupid fucking argument, the game just fucking
Oh, yeah.
slows down by a factor of 10. It's miserable.
Once again, to bring up a certain person, he would challenge me on everything.
Yeah.
So, A, don't challenge your DM on everything. 2, if your DM, for some reason, seems to be critting almost every hit against you, but you're still living, there's something about your character that's a little off.
Yeah.
And maybe you should ask your DM, hey, why do I instead of saying how are you possibly rolling crits every time, say is there something going on with my character where a crit is necessary? Chances are the answer is yes.
Well, that just kind of falls into like don't power game and like, I guess with him, it definitely seemed like you cheated a little bit.
But also,
which like also please don't cheat.
Yeah, please don't cheat.
It's not cool.
But also at the same time, just like the it's kind of like a challenge in Scrabble, of which I placed 75th in a Scrabble tournament once before.
Give you a fucking medal.
You should. But it's kind of like Scrabble, like the challenge in Scrabble. When you challenge somebody in Scrabble, if you're wrong, you lose a turn, and that sucks. So like you use it very wisely.
Yeah.
The same with D&D. Don't challenge on everything. If you're wrong, sometimes it's best to just let it go.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something stupid. There are so many examples I could use about this one person.
Yep.
But like there were a lot of times where this one person would challenge me on something ridiculous or like ask me ridiculous questions so that he could argue for his point better.
Exactly.
And it's just like you are slowing down the game to the point where I'm getting upset, and me trying to shut you down is making you upset.
Yeah.
Meaning that you're becoming all pouty now because of something you are causing. And like three of the other people who are on the same fucking thing in the same campaign, one of them was just on her laptop the whole time because of this guy.
Yeah.
One of them was on his phone the whole time because of this guy, and the other was doing homework the whole time because of this guy. Because none of them got any of the spotlight. It all connects.
Yeah.
And so like not challenging people, being able to let go of a question, being able, like, it all connects to this idea of just kind of trying to share space.
And that's another thing to continue making other things to talk about. I see this come up a lot where like someone will just like, you'll do something, or the DM will do something that like isn't, that kind of like defies the laws of physics or something, or like doesn't really add up. Or like, let me explain that better. Like if you, I don't know physics well enough to give a concrete example here.
Yeah.
But like if like something doesn't really behave like it should with gravity or like with other natural forces, and you have like people who are like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. This shouldn't be like this. Like, yeah, but it's also like magic.
It's like this fantasy game. Like,
yeah. Like, learn to let things go. Like, if it's like a minor plot hole or like a weird inconsistency, like, who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the plot. It doesn't affect the game. Just let it go. Just let your DM have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, right. Just channel your inner Elsa and let it go.
Exactly. So one thing I want to cover here, because we were talking about being a good player, is like properly handling player versus player interaction.
How do you mean interaction?
I don't mean like just like I'm attacking the party, or I'm going to attack the party wizard because he pissed me off. That's part of it, because that's not cool. But it's also shit like, oh, I'm the rogue, so I'm going to steal your shit.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Like, or if you're like in a social situation and someone's like trying to talk to the king and you're just being an asshole because you want to torpedo what they're doing.
I agree with you mostly. There is one instance, though. There's one thing that I think is okay, extremely dependent on the situation, and that is PvP.
That's kind of going into what I'm saying. Is like, I think for player versus player interaction to be at all reasonable, both players need to agree on it, and the DM needs to agree on it.
Yes.
If everyone is on board, then that's fine. I think some of the best moments we've had have been like player versus player interactions.
Yes.
Like at the end of that vampire game when you were all like going in different directions.
Yeah.
And fucking each other over. That was really cool. At the end of that whole arc with Ord, where like it was him against the world. That was fun.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if the situations were different, if I was just like the anti-paladin and like I didn't make it plain that I was turning and I just turned on everyone. I was like, haha, you fooled you.
There it is. Ha!
you got, kid.
Get fucked.
Yeah, and that's not fun. That's
Yeah.
stupid. That's like, you're gonna piss off everybody.
So, like, I guess know when it is appropriate.
Yeah. And it's also just like, if you're gonna do something like that, it should make an ounce of sense. Like,
Yes.
for example, the guy that I hate, I was playing a game once, and I think we were just like sleeping or something, and he's like, I hit your character in the head with a shovel. I'm like, why? For what purpose? What does this get you? And he was just like cackling like it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. I'm like, this is annoying. Don't.
Like, it's just, it doesn't do anything.
It's stupid.
It's not in your character to do that. It's not in anybody's character to do that.
Exactly. And you're causing problems where they don't need to exist.
Exactly.
And like, again, it can be a cool point of narrative tension if it makes any sense, but if it doesn't, then you're just pissing everybody off.
And if there's one thing we've harped on a lot this podcast, is just don't piss people off.
Yeah. And believe you me, it is fun to like turn and be the party's villain. I will be your villain, Hante.
It's true.
But like,
you play Scorpion. Like,
no, I play Crab. I'm a crab boy.
You play both though.
I do a lot of things, but Crab is the best one.
Debatable. Okay.
It's not actually not,
but like it is. But yeah, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, it's just like,
don't be a fishmonk.
Yeah, it's just ultimately like, consider what other people want. Like, you know, I know you think it's like really a cool, fun twist that like, by the way, I was the bad guy the whole time. But like, if no one knows that and no one expects it, and it's not.
Especially if the DM doesn't know that.
At the very fucking least, tell the DM it's about to happen.
Because then at least the DM might be able to put you in situations where, without revealing it, there might be like a hint where it's like, oh yeah, he actually isn't a bad guy, or he actually is a bad guy rather. Where it's like, there might be like some guy you have to save because like a building's coming down and you're the only one who's close enough. But then in your mind, you're like, I want him dead anyway because he might know my secret. I'm just going to let him die and then tell all the other guys I had no choice.
That's a situation where like you're going to want to talk to the player about that.
Not player. That I'm not necessarily playing versus player. I'm talking about just in terms of being a character who is also evil. Like, who also is secretly turning against the party.
I understand that, but like, it's also the sort of thing where if you're kind of working under the expectation that everyone's here to fulfill the same mission and like help each other, then it's kind of.
I'm talking about an NPC.
Oh, well,
he's letting an NPC die.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
As a way of being like the other players can think like, oh, like, did he actually do that because he couldn't like escape or? That's
completely fine. Yeah.
Yeah. No. If you're gonna let another player die, then talk to the DM.
Yeah. So kind of related to that, my next point is just make characters that work with the group.
Yes.
Like we kind of said that already, but like it bears repeating and it bears explaining more, because if you're playing the secret bad guy and you're just kind of like letting people die, or you're not helping the party in key situations, or you're like stealing people's shit, like. That's very irritating.
Yeah, and
like it doesn't work with what the group set out to do. Like if you're playing a party of paladins and you're the rogue and you're taking things from the paladins, it's like, come on, dude, everyone's here to do this.
And also just going with that, like it's not very secret if you're the secret bad guy and just not helping.
Yeah,
because then it's like obviously you're not a good guy, and like the big part of like being a secret bad guy is the big reveal.
Exactly. And so if you're just being a fucking dingus, no one's having a great time.
No one's having a good time. And then when it finally comes out, oh, I was the bad guy the whole time. It's like
oh, really?
It's like, wow, who would have thought? Like,
yeah. And like, in addition to that, please don't play the loner. Like, like I know you think like
no, loner I think could be okay.
But you know what I mean, where it's like I hang out in the corner and I don't talk to anybody.
All right, yeah, that's dumb.
It's just like fuck off.
But being this is where I think being a lot of people think being a loner is like being Kirito.
Kirito is the worst. Don't make a Kirito.
Don't make Kirito. If you want to be a loner, make an Aragorn.
Yeah.
Who mostly does things by himself, but like he's not afraid to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly.
He has no aversion to helping his friends or group. And he has friends. Like, loners don't necessarily mean you don't have any friends. It just means that you're an introvert. You generally are not with other people.
And that's fine. If you want a character that's not going to be like a socialite, fine, whatever.
Yeah, like
Like,
that's...
if you want to drink by yourself in the tavern, whatever. But like,
Don't
when
be a
shit
douche
gets
about
heavy, like you should be there. Don't just
Yeah.
fuck off. Don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't be that guy who... I'm trying to think of another good reference, because I guess in a way Kirito helps out, but he mostly is a... Don't be Kirito from that one episode where he's like has to beat up Santa Claus. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah.
And like he has like these other guys who want to help him out, and he's just like, "Fuck you," and then just goes kill Santa Claus, and then he's like, and like drops like whatever Santa Claus dropped.
Yeah. Don't be a problem.
Don't be a problem.
Yeah. Just like, and that's another thing is like everyone kind of wants to be like the loner. Like, oh, you walk into the tavern and you see like with your party and you see a mysterious stranger in the corner. It's like, have you ever walked into a room? Like, say you walk into a bar in real life and you see someone drinking by themselves. Are you gonna approach them? No. Like that.
If
you're gonna
anything,
leave
I
them the
feel,
fuck alone.
I
Yeah.
feel sad for him. I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, there's a guy like
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
not having a good
And you
day.
move on. But like, it's not. You have to play this game with people. You have to not be a pain in the ass. Just like, you can be by yourself, but like, be drinking alone at the bar, and then like, when the party starts talking about adventure, be like, hey, you need a rogue, buddy.
Yeah, be like, hey, I'm a boy here for you.
Yeah. And have some kind of motivation that works with that.
Yeah.
Like, makes sense.
That's actually another key point. Just kind of like having a party that works and like doing things that work. Make sure you have a good motivation.
Motivation is critical.
Because like I've made bad motivations for my characters before. There are reasons that a lot of the reasons I've killed off my characters is because I end up playing them thinking I had like, oh, this is a great motivation, and then I realize I actually really don't like this.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a great motivation and it doesn't work well at the party. That's actually why Abby died.
Yeah.
Was because I didn't really have a ton of fun because it felt like we were doing a lot of things that she just wouldn't herself care a lot about.
That's why I wanted to stop playing 561.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just that his motivation was too esoteric. And I think that's another thing that you need to think about is like, your motivation should have an end game.
Yeah.
Like, it should be like, become the king, because that's a concrete thing to do. Or it should be like,
find my father's killer.
Yeah, find my father's killer. Like, become God. I don't know.
and the thing on that is once you complete that, it's okay to leave. Like that's what you and I did with Raymond in 561. Like
Exactly.
I felt like Raymond's quest was done.
Yeah.
Like he got his nobility back and he did the things he wanted to do.
Exactly.
And so I was like, I don't need him to go to another place and start a whole nother quest because he has no reason to.
And that was what I did with Ord. Is like, I knew when I made him, like, he's gonna turn and he's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. His goal is to test Edmund, the other paladin, who's his apprentice.
Yeah.
So let's work with that. So I'm gonna fall. Here's how that's gonna happen. And my end game is to be like the final example to him of like, don't be me or whatever.
And it's especially good to talk about your end game or even just your goal in general with your DM.
Yeah.
Because
they can make that happen.
They can make that happen and they can tailor that well.
Exactly.
Like I remember with yours, with your vampire game, the one thing that I really wanted was I wanted to jump out of a window as a building was exploding. And that's what I got. And I got exactly that. And it was the best.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that was a dumb goal, but it was one of my goals. And that's what I wanted to do. And I told Will that and he made that happen for me.
Yeah. I have some, if I could redo that end game for the vampire game, I would have done it differently, but yeah, I'm just, let your DM know.
Yeah. Talk to your DM. Like a big piece of advice that we always give, no matter what it is when we do like any sort of small player. Talk to people.
Please.
Communication is the most important thing. Even if you yourself are not great at communication, there are other avenues you can go through to communicate.
If you can't look someone in the eyes and ask them for something, then do it online.
Yeah.
Like, write them a note. Do fucking anything. Just like, you're never going to get anywhere if you're like, I'm the rogue learner and I want money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. You're not gonna have fun.
Even-
no one's gonna have fun with you.
And like you can even do it with modern technology. You can email them or text them
Yeah.
while you're in the game.
Exactly.
And like, so like if you're not comfortable asking it outright immediately, or there's some like secret thing that you want to have happen, you can do that pretty easily. Even slipping your DM a note, you can do.
Yeah. And like, something has to be said for the DM that's going to be like, no, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I have my story, and this doesn't make any sense in the context of my story.
Yeah.
And that's shitty. It sucks, but like, either move on or deal with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're at an hour now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, we could talk for another 10 hours if we felt like it. Just not being a fuck. But that is ultimately what it boils down to, is like two big rules. Respect other people
And communicate.
and communicate. And like, if you can do that, then you're going to make a character and you're going to have fun. If you can't do that, then the game's going to be a fucking shit show. You're going to be miserable, or the game's going to fall to pieces before it starts.
Like, I've had people ask me before, like when I mention I play D&D or online, they'll be like, how do I be a good player? And the first thing I'll say is there's no such thing as a good player, or there's no such thing as a bad player, I should say. But there are like situations there are ways you'll find yourself not being the best you can be. Not necessarily making the best character, just being the best player you can be. And the best ways to do that are just to don't be an asshole and communicate.
Yeah.
Those are the two ways.
And just like have fun. Once you've done that, once you're able to realize that other people are playing, once you have spoken with everybody and you're on the same page, get into it. Have a good time. Make a character that you want to play. Like, don't just make the fighter because the party needs a tank.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe you don't have a tank, fucking so be it.
You don't have a tank, whatever.
But if you really want to play a bard, play a fucking bard.
But yeah, just be good.
Yeah.
Be good, man.
I guess we'll leave it.
Anyway, that's Tabletop Trainwreck.
This was a lot more coherent than I thought it would be.
Yeah, we did a good
proud of
job. Nice.
So
there were definitely parts that I just needed to vent because I was upset.
The venting's fun. Maybe that'll be another sub-series. We just fucking scream about shit. Half an hour.
Isn't that Midnight Ramblers?
Yeah. All right. So
anyway, this is Tabletop Trainwreck.
Tabletop Trainwreck.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Find us on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts,
any others?
iTunes, YouTube, and we might be forgetting one. But if we're forgetting it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter,
we are
and Facebook.
theoretically there, yeah. But I don't think we've ever posted anything on
I have
accounts.
posted exactly one thing on Facebook.
Excellent.
I think we have 4 things on Instagram.
Superb.
But we've got like 20 things on Twitter.
Hell yeah.
We are on it with Twitter. We have 1 follower.
Yes. Okay, so have a good night, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, I guess.
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day soon.
Yeah.
Tip your waitress at Valentine's Day with the tip. Wink, wink.
Probably shouldn't do that if you're on a date, but who
unless
am I?
everybody's into it, then that's okay.
Yeah. Keep it real.
People can dream. All right, people can do whatever
People
they
can
want.
fuck off.
Technically, yes. All right, bye, everybody.
Piss off.